Welcome to Resume Assassin Presents Recruiting Insider, where I create a safe space to have candid conversations with recruiters and LinkedIn thought leaders. This podcast promises to inform, entertain, and inspire. Pam Policastri, welcome to Recruiting Insider. Pam is here with us from Seattle, Washington. She brings 16 years of recruiting experience and 11 years of software engineering experience prior to that. And she works mostly with people who have deep AI expertise, including AI and machine learning engineers, data engineers, and full stack software engineers. Today, she's going to discuss how job seekers can make the most out of LinkedIn. High level, what do you want job seekers to take away from your message today?
Oh, gosh. I want them to know how important LinkedIn is as part of a job search and have a few tidbits that they can go back and improve their representation on LinkedIn so that they can be found easier by recruiters. And so that when people look at their profiles, they find the kinds of things that they want to see.
Amazing. I think this is such a great topic, and I can't wait to kind of get into it. Tell us one of your craziest recruiting stories.
Oh gosh. Since we're talking about LinkedIn, I can tell you about just going through lots of profiles. I was looking at a lot of them at a time, and I opened one up and almost fell off my chair. The profile picture that someone chose to use for their LinkedIn profile was this big, hairy spider, like furry looking spider. It scared the heck out of me. And then I just started laughing. And then I went and, I was in an office at the time with at least 10 other recruiters sitting right by me. I pulled them all over and we all had a good laugh.
That's hilarious. How did you get into recruiting?
I started out as an engineer, but I always used to be interviewing. I was at Microsoft at a time when even an entry-level software test engineer was doing 5 interviews a week because the company was growing so much. And it turns out I absolutely loved it. And so when I sort of reached the end of what I wanted to do with engineering and I started to look for new things to do, recruiting suddenly became the obvious choice. It was something I'd been passionate about. I used to volunteer at Microsoft to go to the college campuses because they have a really great college recruiting team, but they can't get everywhere. And so they would send out an email every year and say, please volunteer for the different colleges. No, we don't need anybody to go to the University of Hawaii. I know it's February, but sorry, we got that covered already by alumni. So I would go out to Pennsylvania in midwinter in the snow and, go to just places like that and just had a blast. And so I'm really thrilled that my next career ended up being tech recruiting.
Many recruiters don't have that technical background like you do, so I would imagine that really helps you understand the candidates even more, as well as the clients that you're working with and the positions that you're trying to place.
It really does. It's not necessary, but it's very, very helpful, and it builds credibility quickly.
I would imagine so. Pam's going to discuss strategies to help you optimize your LinkedIn profile. We all know that the job market is extremely competitive right now. So she chose this topic to give you some helpful tips from a recruiter's perspective. What is one thing that most people don't know about LinkedIn?
LinkedIn at the end of last year crossed the 1 billion users mark, which is insane. What is that? Like 1 out of 8 or 9 people on the planet are using LinkedIn.
A ton.
It's insane.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, it is the place to start when you're doing a job search. Even if you're not planning on being found on LinkedIn necessarily, every interview that you do, whether it's with a recruiter, whether it's with a manager or a team, they are going to go out and look at your LinkedIn profile before they talk to you. So having a good profile that you're proud of is really important.
Every single recruiter that I've spoken with, the very first thing they do when they have a resume in hand is look at your LinkedIn profile. Mm-hmm. So I agree. So with 1 billion users, that's insane, a huge number. How can we take advantage of so many people on LinkedIn? And I'm curious how many of those are actually recruiters as well, because I've heard it's the number 1 recruiting platform on the market.
Absolutely. There are recruiters. We have special recruiter accounts that let us sift and search and sort by a million different ways. And then now there's a recruiter light account for smaller companies that can't afford the big fancy ones. So recruiters, if they're not on there, they're crazy. And even the ones who are at the scrappiest of the tiny startups who truly can't afford anything are still doing Boolean searches on Google and Bing and all the different, browsers to try to find your LinkedIn pages anyway. So recruiters are there in full force.
So they have this LinkedIn recruiter feature. How could job seekers optimize their profile to land higher in the search rankings? What are you actually looking for? What are you plugging into those searches to find the candidates?
That is a great question. The most important thing is to get caught in the web. Like, when a recruiter is doing a search, they have just had a conversation with a hiring manager who might have told them something like, I want to find a product manager, but they have to have done roadmaps. Or I don't want to see a single resume that comes across my desk that doesn't have SQL on it. And so the recruiters are going to go in and they're going to search for keywords and they're going to search for skills. If your LinkedIn doesn't have that skill or keyword on it, you won't be in the search results. And so what I advise, so my side thing that I do on top of working at Curative AI is I help people with resumes in LinkedIn. And that's why I chose this topic. It's one of the things I advise people to do is to reverse engineer your LinkedIn, to pretend you're the recruiter trying to find you. What words would you search for? And then have those words on your LinkedIn profile and have them in your resume too, so that recruiters can find you.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's amazing advice. And reading so many different job descriptions, you start to uncover a theme when it comes to keywords and phrases.
Yes.
And like you said, kind of reverse engineer those keywords so that you can really start to figure out what those recruiters are looking for.
And if you don't know off the top of your head what the keywords are, there's some ways to find them. You mentioned, Mary, you just mentioned the job descriptions. Those are a great place to find keywords. Looking at other people's profiles on LinkedIn that are similar to yours is another great way to find them. And then you can even go to any of your favorite chat bots, Gemini or Chat GPT, whatever you like, and say, I'm interviewing for an XYZ position. I'm writing my resume and I'm this. What keywords should I have on here? So don't feel like you have to come up with the keywords yourself. There are lots of ways to find the ones that are relevant to what you do.
You nailed it. Don't feel like you need to come up with those keywords on your own. You can find those in different places. In fact, if you do try to come up with those on your own, you probably won't get it right. Even on LinkedIn, if you look at the job description, there's a skills section. So you can see, the top 8 to 10 skills that a recruiter's looking for, as well as other skills that candidates that you're going up against have. So that will give you a clear understanding of the types of keywords that they're searching for as well. Why should you complete your LinkedIn profile?
This is a kind of a debated topic on LinkedIn. There are some folks who feel uncomfortable filling out their profiles because they feel like they're going to get hit with a lot of spam. There are definitely recruiting people out there that are just trying to, we call it spray and pray. I'm sure Mary, you know that one. And they're bombarding people, especially people in hot fields like AI and software engineering. They get a lot of noise and they're trying to keep it down. So they don't want to have a lot of information on their LinkedIn profiles. But the problem is when a recruiter's on LinkedIn trying to find you, they don't have your resume. All they have to go on is LinkedIn. So until there's a resume in hand, LinkedIn is your resume. And people are making decisions as to whether or not to reach out to you with opportunities that they have based on what you put on LinkedIn. And, one of the things we can see in the recruiter accounts is how many people are open to work. I can tell you it is millions and millions and millions of people right now, even in the hot areas, even in AI. There are millions of people open to work secretly, because that is a feature that is part of LinkedIn. You can flag to recruiters that you're looking and no one else can see. So if I'm looking at 100 people and 90 of them have filled in their profiles and 10 of them haven't, I'm probably going to skip over those 10 because I happen to work with a CEO who wants to be able to understand what somebody's working on. And if I hand her a LinkedIn profile of somebody who hasn't filled anything in, she's not interested. So help the recruiter help you by filling things out. It makes a big difference.
That's
one of the things that recruiters, have to keep in mind is that our reputation is on the line with every single candidate that we present to a hiring manager. And so if yours just isn't impressive, that makes us look bad too. So it is in our best interest to find the strongest candidates that we can for the sake of the company, but also, for our own professional reputations.
absolutely. So there's an open to work section, but some people are afraid to use it. Should they be?
I don't think so. I have advised people to use it. You can say if you're remote or if you want hybrid, or you can specify what you're looking for. It's tremendously helpful to recruiters. First of all, just to know that you're looking, and second, what it is that you're looking for. At the bottom of this section, you get to choose whether or not you want that green banner around your picture. If you put the green banner, then everybody knows you are looking for work. So people who use that are not working. They are either laid off or they are taking a break, or for whatever reason that it's fine for it to be public. If you don't want that, if you're doing more of a quiet search and you haven't told your team that you want to leave yet, then there's another option. So you can either choose to have the green banner, or you can choose to have it so that only recruiters who are not part of your organization can see. Like, for example, if you worked at Microsoft, Microsoft recruiters would not be able to see that you're open to work. I'm pretty sure LinkedIn recruiters would also not be able to see that you're open to work because LinkedIn is part of Microsoft, and anybody else affiliated with Microsoft would not be able to see that. If a smart recruiter really wants to know if you're working, if you're open to work, they can call a friend in another company and say, hey, look up so-and-so. I've never heard of that happening. And I just tell people to put flexible looking instead of immediate looking for plausible deniability. So if you're worried about it, then, if anybody ever came to you and said, why do you have this? Why are you set it to open to work? You can just say, well, shouldn't we always be open to new opportunities? I mean, this is not a new concept. So, that's what I advise.
I think that that's wonderful advice. And many of the clients that I work with, that's their number one fear, especially if they're gainfully employed already, is what if one of my internal recruiters sees that I'm open to work and then it gets back to my supervisor and then things get awkward, and I'm curious, is it better to have that green open to work banner on, or just leave yourself as open to recruiters?
It is. I believe it's a personal preference. I have friends who have gotten jobs because they had those banners on there, and people said, oh, didn't know that person was looking, and then reached out to them and they got hired in a tough market because they had the banner. The flip side of that is that there are some recruiters and hiring managers out there who are snobs about it and who still have that archaic thinking that if someone is currently unemployed, then they're desperate. I personally vehemently disagree with it. We are in 2024. People take time off for a million different reasons. People go backpacking across Europe. People stop to take care of parents or children. I saw a senior director at one company quit because COVID happened and somebody had to be there supervising her kids' learning because they couldn't go into school. There are illnesses. There are so many perfectly valid reasons why somebody might not be working at the time. And so I feel like to discount those people is just silly at this point. But unfortunately, there are still people who feel that way, who think that way. And so I advise people to do an A/B test. Maybe don't put it on, see if you're getting any bites. If nothing's happening, try putting it on. You can toggle it. You can turn it on and off all you want.
What are the top 3 things users can do to get noticed?
So one thing to keep in mind when a recruiter is reading through LinkedIn or they're reading your resume, especially if they're at a large company that's doing high volume recruiting, You've got about 6 seconds to make an impression, and I'm not even kidding. We're going that quickly. We've learned to read so fast that I drive people crazy when they're trying to read my text. I'm scrolling, and they're like, "Wait! I'm not there yet." So you want to optimize for speed on both resume and LinkedIn. The first thing I suggest is having a really strong title. Like if you have something like people person or, something like that as the first thing that they see under your name, it doesn't tell us anything. We have nothing to go on. We don't know what role you're in. We don't know how senior you are. You could be an executive, like a C-level, chief operating officer, but we miss it because it's not right there. So take advantage of that space to tell us what you want to know, what you want us to know immediately. The next thing is fleshing out the experience under each job. Personally, I advise people to copy paste right out of their resumes. Just, you've spent time on your resume having each job show not just what you were responsible for, but what impact you had and why it mattered. You probably have data, like actual numbers, maybe they're year over year or percentages, or you saved the company money or some great anecdotal story. Get all of that into LinkedIn because, again, LinkedIn is your resume until we have a resume. We are reading that. We're reading fast, but we're reading it to see if you're someone we want to reach out to. And then the third one is the skills. The skills and the keywords. There's a section called skills, and you can have at least up to 50 on a regular LinkedIn account. I think it's 85 for premium. Again, it's try to put yourself in the head of a recruiter. What are they going to search for? When I search for program managers, I look for the word requirement. I look for the skill requirements gathering, or every recruiter's kind of got the ones that they. If I see that on a profile, it probably means I'm on the right track. What are the words for you in your career? What are those special words? And make sure they're all over your skills. It feels like buzzword bingo. I know it's painstaking, but the better you flesh out your skills and keywords, the easier you are to find.
So going back to the headline, if you're working with a career changer, what would you advise them?
If you're trying to change careers, I would advise to keep it a slightly more ambiguous because you want someone to be able to see you in their role and not necessarily in the role you're already in. Like, for example, if you are a director trying to get to senior director, you could just say something like senior leader or seasoned. I know people hate the word seasoned, but I'm trying to think of another example of a good word, but something that indicates that you're very senior, but that doesn't say, the exact title.
Yeah, that's great. And do you advise leaving quantification out of your profile? You recommend copying and pasting their resume into their profile, which I do agree with. Do you think that there should still be some element of surprise when they hand their resume to you?
You're optimizing for speed. You want it to be readable. You don't want big flowing paragraphs in LinkedIn. Bullets are great, but you got one chance to get noticed, and the data helps you get noticed. So I would put quantifiable information on LinkedIn. I have it on mine. I think it's important.
And with the skills section, those aren't just random keywords. Those should be very strategic as well based on what you're targeting.
Like, for example, people will put leadership or management, but those are so vague, they could apply to almost any job out there. If you put something like Salesforce or Java or like your favorite CRM, like those are the kinds of things those are those things that a hiring manager might have told a recruiter, I don't want to see a resume that doesn't have this word on it. So try to think of what those, all the different skills and technologies and things like that you have in addition to the soft skills. Like my favorite one is cross-cultural, is it something like global cross-functional collaboration? Yes, you know the one.
Yep.
So yeah. So thinking about it from a global perspective, the leadership, the collaboration, all of those things, management skills. Rather than just putting management, I recommend things like people management, because now I know that you maybe write people's reviews, team building, morale building, things that make a good manager.
Yeah.
But there's always that chance that, even if you're let's say you're a recruiter and you've used, let's say Greenhouse is the applicant tracking system. What if you run into a hiring manager that only wants somebody who's used Greenhouse before? If you don't put Greenhouse on there, then you wouldn't be in the search results.
Time for a few rapid fire questions.
Okay.
How many emails do you get per day?
Well, I don't get that many now, but I used to get hundreds when I was at larger companies. Now I probably get maybe 10 a day because I'm at a tiny startup.
Sure. What stands out to you during a 5-second resume scan?
I look for the first couple of sentences in the job description or in the summary, and I look at the first job pretty thoroughly, and then I look for patterns. I look for growth. Like if I read backwards, would I see something like manager, senior manager, director, senior director? Like I'm looking for career progression.
Biggest candidate red flag?
Complaining, because it makes me nervous. Right now, and especially LinkedIn specific, there are a lot of people that are, this is going to sound awful, but there are a lot of people using LinkedIn as their therapist. They're venting, they're very upset. I completely understand. I was unemployed for a lot of last year too. I understand how bad it is out there. And I've been helping people for a year and a half try, do their best to find their next job. But we can see recruiters, as we're scrolling down your profile to get to your experience, we have to pass a section called activity, and it shows your last 3 posts. And if you're bashing a recruiter or slamming a company, that could really close some doors that you didn't even know might have opened. So I'm not saying don't be human. It's so important to be human, but I am saying keep in mind this is still a professional platform. So it's just important to think mindfully about what you're putting out there.
Best interview tip?
A lot of interview questions these days are coming straight from company values. And I've had some recruiters coach me on this in recent interviews that I've done. So even if you don't have that anyone tell you to do it, every single company's got values, and you can find those values on their website. And if they don't have a website for some reason, you can ask people directly, what are your values? If you know them ahead of time, you can think about what experience and accomplishments that you personally have done that align to those values. Because I guarantee you're going to get at least a couple of questions that really are them trying to see if you align to those values.
Most rewarding placement?
When this was before I was a recruiter, I was a manager and in an engineering manager, and someone came to me and said, I really want you to check out my friend. He is a construction engineer. He actually built the symphony hall, down the road. He was the foreman, and he's also got his entire house wired for NT, like Windows NT. Like this guy is just really, really sharp technically. I think he'd be amazing. We interviewed him. I got to help make the call to hire him with my manager, and he ended up getting back-to-back promotions and growing into this amazing, I think it's been 20-something year career now. I just couldn't be prouder because we took a chance on somebody and it just paid off so well for everyone.
One thing that we probably don't know about recruiters.
About recruiters? I hate to admit this, but I personally rarely read cover letters. A lot of recruiters do. It depends on the company you're at. It depends on the size of the company. I come from really large companies where there's just no time. But there have been other times at my smaller startup where I read what someone writes and then I'm able to see how they fit in the organization that I might have missed. So don't assume it's going to get read, but they're still worth doing.
Last question. What does success look like for you as a recruiter?
Success to me is an art, not a science. There's definitely hitting number goals. If we need to hire 50 people, then, hiring those people, or hiring more than those people, even if that's something that we're looking for. We want them to be high quality hires that are, that come in and do a great job and stay a long time, ideally. But we also want people to come in who are happy and excited and love what they're doing. I am not a pushy person. So if someone clearly isn't the right fit for whatever reason, I'm not going to try to force something, because then they're going to come and they're not going to be happy and they're going to leave in 6 months. That's not what we want.
Can we find you on social media?
I am on LinkedIn and Facebook all the time. Those are my top two.
Thanks for listening. I will be releasing episodes every Monday, so be sure to subscribe on the platform that you are watching this, give it a 5-star review, and we'll see you next time.